The rain drummed softly against the window, a soothing rhythm that matched my restless thoughts. I sat curled up on my couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring out at the gray sky. It was just another Monday afternoon, but it felt heavier than usual, like the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to change. My name is Ella, and I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions I couldn't quite name. Life had become a series of mundane routines since I graduated from college. I worked as a graphic designer at a small firm, pouring my creativity into projects that felt increasingly uninspired. The vibrant colors I once splashed across my canvas had faded into dull shades of gray, mirroring the weather outside. I longed for something more, something that would awaken the passion buried deep within me. As I absent-mindedly sipped my lukewarm tea, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a message from my best friend Mia. "Don't forget about the gallery opening tonight. You promised you'd come." I sighed, glancing at the clock. The opening was in just a few hours, and part of me wanted to cancel. But another part, the part that craved connection and excitement, urged me to go. Mia had been my anchor through the turbulent waters of adulthood, always encouraging me to step out of my comfort zone. With a reluctant smile, I typed back, "Okay, I'll be there." "What time?" "7 p.m. Can't wait to see you." As the evening approached, I took a long shower and dressed in my favorite black dress, a simple yet elegant piece that hugged my curves just right. The anticipation of the gallery opening stirred something within me. It was as if the promise of art and creativity could reignite the spark I had lost. When I arrived at the gallery later that night, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. The walls were adorned with stunning pieces from local artists, each one telling its own story through vibrant colors and intricate details. As I wandered through the crowd, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was a world where creativity thrived, and yet I felt like an outsider looking in. That's when I saw her. Zoe stood across the room, her auburn hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall of autumn leaves. She wore a deep green dress that accentuated her figure, and her captivating hazel eyes sparkled with curiosity as she admired a painting. There was something magnetic about her presence that drew me in, a warmth that seemed to radiate even from afar. I watched as she stepped closer to a piece depicting a stormy sea, a tumultuous blend of blues and grays swirling together in chaos. Her expression shifted from intrigue to contemplation as she studied it intently. It struck me then how much she seemed to embody the very essence of art, complex yet beautiful. Just as I gathered the courage to approach her, Mia appeared at my side, breaking my reverie.
Ella.
"You made it," she exclaimed, pulling me into a tight hug. "Of course. This place is amazing," I replied, glancing back at Zoe, who had now turned her attention to another piece across the room. "Have you met anyone interesting yet?" Mia asked with a knowing smile that I hesitated for a moment before nodding toward Zoe. "Not yet," I admitted quietly. "But there's someone over there who caught my eye." Mia followed my gaze and raised an eyebrow playfully.
Ooh.
"She's beautiful. You should go talk to her." My heart raced at the thought. What would I even say? But before I could voice my doubts, Mia nudged me forward gently. "Go on. What's the worst that can happen?" Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself and made my way toward Zoe. As I approached her, the world around us faded into silence, the chatter of guests and clinking glasses becoming mere background noise. "Hi," I said softly as she turned to face me, surprise flickering across her features. "Hey there," Zoe replied with a warm smile that sent butterflies fluttering in my stomach. "What do you think of this piece?" "It's incredible," I said honestly, gesturing toward the painting of a stormy sea. "It feels so alive, like you can almost hear the waves crashing." Zoe's eyes lit up with enthusiasm as we began discussing our interpretations of the artwork. Each word exchanged felt like an invitation into her world, a world filled with passion and creativity that mirrored my own longing for connection. As we talked, I noticed small details about her. The way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when she got excited, or how her laughter danced through the air like music. Every moment spent together deepened our connection. It was as if we were two kindred spirits drawn together by an invisible thread. But beneath that connection lay an undercurrent of tension, an unspoken awareness that something more lingered just beneath the surface. As we moved from one piece to another, our hands brushed occasionally, each touch sending electric sparks coursing through me. With every shared laugh and lingering glance, my heart raced faster. It was exhilarating yet terrifying all at once. Just then, Mia reappeared at my side with an excited grin plastered across her face.
Ella.
We're going to grab some drinks. Want to join us? I glanced between Zoe and Mia. Part of me wanted to stay with Zoe, to explore this newfound connection further. But another part knew that social obligations beckoned. I'll catch up with you later, I said reluctantly to Zoe. Sure. It was great talking with you, she replied with an encouraging smile that made my heart flutter once more. As Mia led me away toward the bar area, I couldn't shake off the feeling that this encounter had changed something within me, a spark ignited by Zoe's presence that stirred emotions long buried beneath layers of routine and fear. But even amidst excitement lingered uncertainty, a nagging thought reminding me that pursuing this connection could lead to complications beyond what either of us anticipated. As we settled at the bar with drinks in hand, Mia animatedly recounting stories about various artists, I found myself stealing glances back toward Zoe, who was now engaged in conversation with another guest. A pang of longing shot through me. What if this was just a fleeting moment? What if we never crossed paths again? But deep down inside lingered hope, a hope that perhaps this was only the beginning of something beautiful, a dangerous love waiting to unfold amidst uncertainty and desire. This introduction sets up Ella's emotional state while introducing Zoe as an intriguing love interest and hinting at potential romantic tension between them. The gallery buzzed with energy, a kaleidoscope of colors and conversations swirling around me. I was still riding the high of my initial encounter with Zoe, but as the evening wore on, I found myself lost in thought, replaying our conversation in my mind. The way her hazel eyes sparkled when she spoke about art, the warmth of her laughter, it all lingered like a sweet melody I couldn't shake. After Mia had pulled me away to socialize, I kept glancing back at Zoe, who was now surrounded by a small group of admirers. She seemed effortlessly charismatic, her laughter ringing out like music amidst the chatter. I felt a pang of envy mixed with admiration. How could someone be so effortlessly captivating? As the night progressed, I found myself gravitating back toward her. I needed to know more about this woman who had ignited something within me, a flicker of hope and desire that had long been dormant. Just as I was about to approach her again, the lights in the gallery dimmed slightly, signaling a presentation about to begin. A spotlight illuminated a large canvas at the center of the room, a stunning piece that depicted a vibrant sunset over a turbulent sea. The artist stood beside it, ready to share their inspiration. I took a step back, allowing myself to get lost in the colors of the painting. The deep oranges and purples blended seamlessly into one another, evoking feelings of both calm and chaos, a perfect reflection of my own emotions. Suddenly, I felt a presence beside me. It was Zoe, her eyes fixed on the painting as well. "Isn't it breathtaking?" she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I turned to her, feeling an electric thrill at our proximity. "It really is," I replied, my heart racing. "It captures so much emotion." Zoe nodded thoughtfully. "I love how art can evoke feelings we can't always put into words. It's like a window into our souls." Her words resonated deeply within me. It was as if she understood the very essence of what I had been searching for, an outlet for my own emotions and desires. As the artist began to speak about their work, Zoe leaned slightly closer to me, her shoulder brushing against mine. The warmth radiating from her body sent shivers down my spine, igniting an undeniable spark between us. "Do you paint?" she asked suddenly, turning her head to meet my gaze. "I used to," I admitted, feeling a mix of vulnerability and nostalgia wash over me. "But I haven't picked up a brush in years." "Why not?" Zoe pressed gently, her curiosity genuine, and I hesitated, caught off guard by her interest. "I guess life just got in the way," I replied with a shrug. "I got caught up in work and everything else." Zoe's expression softened as she regarded me thoughtfully. "You should start again," she encouraged. "Art has a way of healing us, of helping us find ourselves again. Her words struck a chord deep within me, stirring emotions I had buried beneath layers of routine and fear. Maybe, I said quietly, feeling exposed under her gaze. As we continued watching the presentation together, I couldn't help but steal glances at Zoe when she wasn't looking, her profile illuminated by the soft light from above, her lips slightly parted as she absorbed every word spoken by the artist. It felt intimate, like we were sharing something sacred in that moment. When the presentation concluded and applause erupted around us, Zoe turned to me with an excited grin. "What did you think?" "It was inspiring," I replied honestly. "It makes me want to create again." "Then you should," she said enthusiastically. "Let's make plans to paint together sometime." My heart raced at the thought. Painting with Zoe felt like stepping into uncharted territory, an adventure filled with both excitement and fear. "Okay," I said before I could second-guess myself. "I'd like that." Just then, Mia reappeared at my side with 2 glasses of wine in hand. "There you are. You two look cozy," she teased playfully. Zoe chuckled softly while I felt heat rise to my cheeks. "We were just discussing art," I said quickly. "Art is definitely more fun with company," Mia chimed in with a wink before turning her attention back to me.
Ella.
"You should show Zoe some of your old paintings." My heart sank at the suggestion. It felt too personal, too vulnerable, to share that part of myself with someone I barely knew yet felt inexplicably drawn to. "I haven't painted in ages," I stammered awkwardly. Zoe's gaze remained steady on me, encouraging yet patient, as if she could sense my hesitation. "That doesn't matter," she said softly but firmly. "Art is about expression, not perfection." Mia nodded enthusiastically in agreement while I struggled internally with my conflicting emotions, fear battling against an overwhelming desire for connection. "I'll think about it," I finally managed to say. As Mia chatted animatedly about other artists present at the gallery, my thoughts drifted back to Zoe. The way she had looked at me when we talked about art, and how effortlessly our conversation flowed between us like an unbreakable bond forming in real time. But beneath that connection lay an undercurrent of tension, a growing awareness that pursuing this attraction could lead to complications beyond what either of us anticipated. Later that evening, after exchanging numbers with Zoe and promising to meet up soon for our painting session, I walked home feeling lighter than air yet burdened by uncertainty, a dangerous mix that left me both exhilarated and terrified. As I lay in bed that night, staring up at the ceiling while replaying every moment spent with Zoe in my mind, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something significant had shifted within me. It was as if this encounter had awakened dormant desires and fears alike, a realization dawning that perhaps love could be both beautiful and dangerous all at once. And deep down inside lingered hope, a hope that maybe this was only the beginning of something extraordinary, a dangerous love waiting to unfold amidst uncertainty and desire. This section creates a moment of connection between Ella and Zoe while hinting at emotional conflicts Ella will face later on. The days following the gallery opening felt like a dream, a vivid tapestry woven with colors of excitement and uncertainty. Zoe and I exchanged messages almost daily, each text igniting a spark of anticipation within me. We shared our favorite artists, discussed our inspirations, and even began planning our first painting session together. I found myself looking forward to those conversations, each one drawing me closer to her in ways I hadn't anticipated. When the day finally arrived for our painting session, I could hardly contain my excitement. I had spent the morning gathering supplies, brushes, canvases, and an array of paints that had long been tucked away in the corner of my apartment. As I prepared, my heart raced with both eagerness and anxiety. What if I wasn't good enough? What if she saw through my facade and realized how unworthy I felt? Zoe arrived promptly at 3 o'clock, her presence filling my small living room with warmth. She wore a simple white tank top paired with faded jeans, her auburn hair pulled back in a loose bun that accentuated the delicate curve of her neck. The scent of her floral perfume wafted through the air as she stepped inside, enveloping me in a comforting embrace. "Hey," she greeted with a bright smile that made my heart flutter. "I'm so excited for this." "Me too," I replied, trying to match her enthusiasm while feeling a flutter of nerves in my stomach. As we set up our supplies on the balcony, my favorite spot bathed in warm afternoon sunlight, I couldn't help but steal glances at her as she unpacked her paints. There was something mesmerizing about the way she moved, her hands deftly arranging everything with an artist's precision. "Okay," Zoe said, turning to face me with a playful grin. "What do you want to paint today?" I hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of expectations settle over me. "I'm not sure. Maybe something abstract? I've always loved how colors can convey emotions." "Great choice," Zoe exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Let's just let the paint flow and see where it takes us." Her enthusiasm was infectious. It eased some of my anxiety as we began to mix colors on our palettes. The sound of brushes against canvas filled the air, accompanied by laughter and playful banter as we shared stories about our lives and artistic journeys. "I used to be terrified of painting in front of others," Zoe admitted as she applied bold strokes of blue to her canvas. "But then I realized it was all about expressing myself, not worrying about what others thought." Her words resonated deeply within me, a reminder that art was meant to be liberating rather than confining. "I wish I could feel that way," I confessed quietly, glancing down at my palette filled with vibrant hues. "You will," she assured me gently, her gaze steady as she leaned closer. "Just let go and trust yourself." As we painted side by side, our shoulders occasionally brushed against each other, a simple touch that sent electric shivers coursing through me each time. The air between us crackled with unspoken tension. It felt both exhilarating and terrifying. After a while, we took a break to admire each other's work. Zoe's canvas was alive with movement, swirls of blue and green dancing together like waves crashing against the shore. Mine was more subdued, an abstract representation of tangled emotions depicted through muted colors. "I love your piece," Zoe said sincerely, tilting her head as she studied it closely. "It feels so raw and honest." "Thank you," I replied shyly, feeling warmth spread through me at her praise. As we continued to share our thoughts on art and life, laughter flowed freely between us, like an unbreakable bond forming in real time. But beneath that connection lay an undercurrent of hesitation, an awareness that our chemistry was undeniable yet fraught with complications. "Ella," Zoe said suddenly, breaking through my thoughts as she wiped paint from her hands onto a nearby cloth. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," I replied cautiously. "What's holding you back from painting more?" Her gaze was penetrating yet gentle, a reminder that she could see deeper than surface-level fears. I took a deep breath, feeling vulnerable under her scrutiny. "Honestly, it's fear," I admitted quietly. "Fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough." Zoe nodded thoughtfully, her expression softening as if she understood exactly what I was feeling. "You're not alone in that," she said softly. "We all have doubts. It's part of being human." Her words struck a chord deep within me. It was comforting to know that someone else grappled with similar insecurities. But even amidst that comfort lingered an unsettling truth. Pursuing this connection with Zoe could lead to complications beyond what either of us anticipated. As we resumed painting, the sun began its descent into the horizon, casting golden hues across the sky, a breathtaking backdrop for our creative endeavors. The warm light enveloped us like a gentle embrace as we continued to lose ourselves in our art. "Look at that sunset," Zoe exclaimed suddenly, pointing toward the sky where vibrant oranges and pinks blended seamlessly together. "It's beautiful," I breathed, momentarily entranced by nature's canvas before turning back to my own work. Zoe took a step closer to me then, her presence intoxicating as she leaned over to examine my painting once more. "You should capture this moment," she suggested softly. I glanced up at her, the distance between us shrinking as she stood so close I could feel the warmth radiating from her body. "You think so?" I asked hesitantly. "Definitely," Zoe replied earnestly, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my heart race. "It's all about seizing inspiration when it strikes." In that moment, caught between desire and uncertainty, I felt an overwhelming urge to lean closer, to bridge the gap between us that had been steadily narrowing since we met. But just then, my phone buzzed on the table nearby, a sudden intrusion that shattered the spell enveloping us both. I pulled back reluctantly as I grabbed my phone. It was Mia checking in on how things were going. As I typed out a quick response, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something significant had shifted between Zoe and me, a connection forged amidst laughter and vulnerability now tinged with tension. When I looked back up at Zoe, she was watching me intently, her expression unreadable, yet filled with something deeper than mere friendship. "Sorry about that," I said awkwardly as I tucked my phone away again. "No worries." Zoe replied softly, but there was an edge of disappointment in her tone. A reminder that our moment had slipped away just as quickly as it had come. As we continued painting into the evening, the sun dipping below the horizon, I couldn't shake off the feeling that this connection was only beginning to unfold amidst layers of complexity and desire waiting just beneath the surface. And deep down inside lingered hope, a hope that perhaps this dangerous love could blossom amidst uncertainty and longing. A journey worth taking even if it meant facing fears head-on along the way. This section deepens Ella and Zoe's relationship through shared moments while highlighting Ella's internal conflict about their growing connection. The sun had set, leaving behind a canvas of deep purples and blues that mirrored the tumultuous emotions swirling within me. Zoe and I had spent the entire afternoon painting, laughter and creativity flowing freely between us. But as the evening wore on, an unspoken tension hung in the air, thickening with every brushstroke and lingering glance. We had moved inside my apartment after the sun dipped below the horizon, the warm glow of lamps casting soft shadows across the room. The smell of paint lingered, mingling with the faint scent of lavender from a candle I had lit earlier. It felt cozy and intimate, yet I could feel the weight of anticipation pressing down on us. Zoe was perched on the edge of my couch, her legs crossed beneath her as she examined her finished piece, a vibrant depiction of a sunset that mirrored the one we had witnessed earlier. "I can't believe how much I love this," she said, her voice filled with genuine excitement. "It feels like a part of me is captured in this painting." "It really does," I agreed, my heart racing as I watched her. "You have such a gift." "Thanks," she replied, her cheeks flushing slightly at my compliment. There was a moment of silence between us, charged with something deeper than friendship, a magnetic pull that seemed to draw us closer together. "Ella," Zoe said suddenly, breaking the tension as she set her painting aside. "Can I be honest with you?" My breath caught in my throat. Her serious tone sent a jolt of anticipation through me. "Of course," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've been thinking about us, about this connection we have," she began, her eyes searching mine for understanding. "And I can't shake the feeling that there's something more here." My heart raced at her admission. It felt like the ground beneath me shifted ever so slightly. "I feel it too," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. Zoe's gaze intensified as she leaned closer, her expression a mix of vulnerability and longing. "But what if we're risking everything? What if this complicates our lives?" I swallowed hard, grappling with my own fears as I met her gaze. "I don't know," I admitted honestly. "But I can't ignore how I feel about you." Her breath hitched slightly as she processed my words. There was a flicker of hope in her eyes that made my heart soar yet tremble at the same time. "Ella," she said softly, reaching out to take my hand in hers, a simple gesture that sent electric sparks coursing through me. "I want to explore this, whatever this is." In that moment, everything around us faded into insignificance. It was just us, two souls standing on the precipice of something beautiful yet terrifying. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly as doubt crept in. "What if we ruin our friendship?" Zoe squeezed my hand gently, her eyes unwavering. "I'd rather take that risk than wonder what could have been." With those words hanging in the air like an unbreakable promise, I felt a rush of courage surge within me, a desire to embrace this connection fully despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. Slowly, without breaking eye contact, Zoe leaned closer until our lips were mere inches apart. My heart raced wildly in my chest. Every nerve ending tingled with anticipation as time seemed to stand still, and then, without thinking, I closed that final distance. Our lips met softly at first, an exploration filled with tenderness and hesitation, as if we were both afraid of breaking this fragile moment. But as our mouths moved together, slowly deepening into something more passionate, I felt everything shift within me. It was electric, a rush of warmth flooding through my veins as desire ignited between us like wildfire. My hands found their way to Zoe's waist as she pulled me closer. Every brush of our bodies sent shivers down my spine, but just as quickly as it began, a sudden rush of panic surged through me like ice water pouring over flames. What had we just done? This wasn't just a kiss, it was crossing an invisible line that could change everything between us forever. Zoe pulled back slightly, her breath coming in quick gasps, as our eyes locked once more. There was an intensity there that left me breathless yet terrified all at once. "Wow," she whispered softly, her cheeks flushed and eyes wide with surprise. "Yeah," I replied shakily, feeling both exhilarated and overwhelmed by what had just transpired.
Wow.
But beneath that exhilaration lay an undercurrent of fear. The realization that this kiss had irrevocably altered our relationship. There was no going back now. "What do we do now?" I asked quietly, uncertainty creeping into my voice as reality crashed back in around us. Zoe's expression shifted from surprise to contemplation. She looked away for just a moment before meeting my gaze again, her eyes filled with vulnerability and longing. "I don't know," she admitted softly. "But whatever happens next, I want to face it together." Her words resonated deeply within me, a promise wrapped in uncertainty. But before I could respond further or process what lay ahead for us both, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by shouts and laughter from neighbors gathering on their balconies below. The moment shattered like glass, the world intruding upon our intimate bubble once more, and suddenly everything felt uncertain again. All those unspoken feelings swirling around us left unresolved amidst chaos outside our door, as we stood there, hearts racing and breaths mingling. I knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of our journey into uncharted territory, filled with passion and vulnerability, but also fear, a midnight escape into love fraught with uncertainty, yet illuminated by hope. This climax introduces a pivotal moment where Ella and Zoe cross a significant boundary while balancing passion and vulnerability. It ends on an unresolved note to keep readers eager for what comes next. The days following that electrifying kiss felt like a whirlwind, a chaotic mix of exhilaration and dread that left me reeling. Zoe and I had crossed a line that irrevocably altered the fabric of our relationship, and while every moment spent with her was filled with warmth and excitement, the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on my chest. I found myself replaying that kiss over and over in my mind, how her lips felt against mine, the way her hands had held me close. It was intoxicating, yet each time I thought about it, a wave of guilt washed over me. What had I done? I had never intended to complicate my life this way, especially not with someone as incredible as Zio. As I returned to work, I struggled to focus. My colleagues chatted around me, their voices blending into a dull hum as I sat at my desk, staring blankly at my computer screen. The vibrant colors of my creative world felt muted, overshadowed by the turmoil brewing within me. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was living a double life, one where I was Ella, the devoted friend and colleague, and another where I was caught in a dangerous liaison with Zoe. Mia noticed my distracted demeanor almost immediately. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, concern etching her features. "You've been a bit off lately." "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Is it about that girl from the gallery?" She probed gently, and I hesitated for a moment, debating whether to confide in her about the kiss, the connection that had ignited something deep within me but also threatened to unravel everything I held dear. "It's complicated," I finally said, choosing my words carefully. "Complicated how?" Mia pressed, her curiosity piqued, and I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my secret pressing down on me. "We kissed," I admitted finally, my voice barely above a whisper. Mia's eyes widened in surprise.
Ella.
That's amazing. But is it serious? I don't know. I replied honestly, feeling vulnerable under her scrutiny. It feels like it could be, but what if it ruins our friendship? What if people find out? Mia nodded thoughtfully, her expression shifting from excitement to concern. You have to be careful. Relationships like that can get messy. Her words hung in the air like an unspoken warning, an acknowledgement of the risks involved in pursuing this connection with Zoe. But beneath that caution lay an undeniable truth. I couldn't ignore how I felt about her. Later that evening, as I sat alone in my apartment surrounded by silence, my phone buzzed with a message from Zoe. Can we talk? I need to see you. My heart raced at her words. Part of me thrilled at the thought of seeing her again, while another part felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. What would we talk about? Would she want to define what we were becoming? Would she confront me about the implications of our kiss? When she arrived later that night, Zoe looked beautiful yet anxious, her auburn hair tousled slightly, as if she had been running her fingers through it nervously. Hey, she said softly as she stepped inside. Hey, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. We settled onto the couch together, the space between us charged with unspoken words and lingering tension. I've been thinking about what happened, Zoe began cautiously, her gaze fixed on her hands. Me too, I admitted, feeling my heart race as anticipation hung thick in the air. I don't want to rush into anything, she continued slowly. But I also can't pretend like nothing happened. Her honesty struck me like lightning. It laid bare my own fears and desires. I feel the same way, I confessed quietly. But what if this complicates everything? Zoe looked up at me then, her hazel eyes filled with vulnerability and longing. I don't want to lose what we have because we're afraid. In that moment, caught between desire and uncertainty, I felt an overwhelming urge to lean closer, to bridge the gap between us once more. But just as quickly as that urge surged within me, doubt crept back in, a reminder of everything at stake. I wish things were simpler, I said finally, breaking eye contact as frustration bubbled beneath the surface. Me too, Zoe replied softly after a pause. But we can't ignore this connection. Just then, my phone buzzed again, a message from Mia. Hey, can we talk later? Something's come up. The sudden interruption shattered the fragile moment between us. Reality crashed back and around us like an unwelcome wave. I should probably check this, I said reluctantly as I pulled out my phone. Zoe nodded silently, but there was an edge of disappointment in her expression. A reminder that our moment had slipped away just as quickly as it had come. After reading Mia's message again, her tone laced with urgency, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. What could be so important? Everything okay? Zoe asked gently. I'm not sure, I replied honestly. Mia sounded worried. Do you need to go? Zoe asked, concern etched across her features. No, I said quickly, shaking my head even though part of me felt guilty for prioritizing anything over this moment with her. I want to be here with you. Zoe smiled softly, but there was an undercurrent of tension lingering between us, a reminder that our connection was still fraught with complications yet to be addressed. As we resumed our conversation, each word laced with unspoken feelings, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something significant had shifted within us. It was as if this encounter had awakened dormant desires and fears alike. A realization dawning that perhaps love could be both beautiful and dangerous all at once. But just as we began to regain some momentum, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by shouts and laughter from neighbors gathering on their balconies below. The moment shattered once more. What was that? Zoe asked, glancing toward the window with wide eyes. I don't know, I replied uneasily as concern washed over me. It seemed like chaos was intruding upon our intimate bubble yet again. As we both stood up to investigate, hearts racing and breaths mingling, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever path lay ahead would require courage from both of us. It would demand vulnerability amidst external pressures threatening our newfound connection. And deep down inside lingered an unsettling truth. Could love truly thrive amidst chaos? This section explores the emotional aftermath of Ella and Zoe's kiss. while introducing external conflicts that heighten the drama surrounding their relationship. The chaos outside faded into the background as I stood in the living room, my heart racing with uncertainty. Zoe and I had shared something beautiful, something that felt like the beginning of a profound connection, yet the world around us was intruding, reminding us of the complications that lay ahead. After the commotion outside settled down, we returned to the couch, the air thick with unspoken words. I could feel the weight of our conversation hanging between us, each moment stretching longer than the last. I wanted to bridge the gap, to reach out and hold her hand again, but fear held me back. "Ella," Zoe said softly, breaking the silence. "I know things are complicated right now, but I can't stop thinking about you." Her honesty sent a rush of warmth through me, yet it was laced with trepidation. "I can't stop thinking about you either," I admitted, my voice trembling slightly. "But what does this mean for us? What if we're risking everything?" Zoe took a deep breath, her expression serious yet vulnerable. "I don't want to lose what we have, but I also don't want to hide how I feel anymore." Her words struck a chord deep within me, an echo of my own desires and fears. "I've spent so long hiding who I am," I confessed, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "I don't want to go back to that." Zoe reached out and took my hand in hers, her touch grounding me amidst the storm of emotions swirling around us. "Then let's not hide," she said firmly. "Let's face this together." In that moment, everything shifted. The fear that had held me captive began to dissolve in the warmth of her gaze. I realized that love was not just about passion. It was also about vulnerability and authenticity. "I want to be with you," I said finally, my voice steady with newfound resolve. "But we have to be honest with ourselves and with others." Zoe nodded, a small smile breaking through her earlier tension. "Agreed. We'll figure this out together." As we sat there, our hands intertwined, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. This connection with Zoe was worth pursuing, even if it meant facing challenges along the way. The next day, I met Mia for coffee at our favorite cafe, a cozy spot filled with laughter and chatter that felt like home. As we settled into our seats, I could sense her curiosity bubbling beneath the surface. "So, how did things go with Zoe?" she asked, leaning forward eagerly. I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension as I prepared to share my truth. "We kissed," I confessed, watching her eyes widen in surprise. Mia grinned widely. "That's amazing. But what does that mean for you too?" I hesitated for a moment before speaking from my heart. "It means that I want to explore this connection fully. But it also means being honest about it, about who we are and what we want." Mia's expression shifted from excitement to understanding as she nodded slowly. "That's brave of you, Ella. Just remember that not everyone will understand or accept it." "I know," I replied quietly, feeling the weight of her words settle over me like a heavy blanket. "But I can't live in fear anymore." As we continued talking, sharing laughter and stories, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. It was as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Later that evening, Zoe and I met at a local park, a quiet spot where we could talk without distractions. The sun was setting, casting golden hues across the sky as we walked side by side. "I told Mia about us," I said tentatively as we strolled along the path lined with blooming flowers. Zoe glanced at me with surprise, but quickly smiled. "How did she take it?" "She was supportive," I replied honestly. "But she reminded me that not everyone will react positively." Zoe nodded thoughtfully as we continued walking. There was an understanding between us, a shared acknowledgement of the challenges ahead. "Whatever happens," Zoe said softly after a moment's pause, "I'm here for you." "I'm here for you too," I replied earnestly, feeling a rush of affection swell within me. As we reached a small clearing in the park where fireflies danced in the twilight air, Zoe turned to face me fully. Her expression was serious yet tender. "Ella," she began slowly, searching my eyes for answers. "I don't want to rush anything between us, but I also don't want to waste time pretending." My heart raced as I processed her words. They echoed my own desires back at me. A reminder that love required both courage and vulnerability, I feel the same way, I admitted softly, stepping closer until our bodies were almost touching once more. The air crackled with tension, an electric charge that ignited every nerve ending within me. Then let's take this one step at a time, Zoe suggested gently, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded slowly. There was something beautiful about taking things slowly, about allowing our connection to deepen without rushing into uncertainty. As we stood there, surrounded by glowing fireflies and bathed in soft twilight, I knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of our journey together. A journey filled with passion and vulnerability, but also hope, a dangerous love waiting to unfold amidst uncertainty and desire. And deep down inside lingered an unwavering truth. Love is worth fighting for, even when faced with challenges along the way. With that realization settled firmly in my heart, I leaned in closer once more, our lips meeting softly as fireflies danced around us like stars fallen from heaven. A promise of new beginnings waiting just beyond the horizon. This resolution wraps up Ella's journey while reflecting on personal growth and self-realization in her relationship with Zoe.